Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. All right. What's going on, guys? Happy post Black Friday, post Thanksgiving. Hope you guys had a great holiday weekend. Apparently, the numbers show that this is a record Black Friday weekend where people have spent close to $11 billion. It's great for our economy, great for family members, for gifts, people getting ready for Christmas. That's pretty much what Black Friday is. People are getting ready for Christmas. So I want to say happy and a good one to you guys. My vacation is almost over, so it's time to get back to work on Monday. I think I took Sunday off, so I'll be back on Monday. And definitely back to business, man. But I wanted to say it was great spending my vacation with you guys. We got a big show for you guys today. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. It's great to be here and share this platform with you. Now, we did extensive coverage on this D4VD information that came out from TMZ, where they were making these, I believe, to be outrageous allegations that the body was frozen and all this different stuff, and it's contradicting with what the Captain Williams of the robbery and homicide squad is saying. And TMZ's kind of playing up this beef that the ME's office has with the police department. It's a lot going on there, something that's very tragic, which is Celeste losing her life and yet to getting justice for herself. And then we kind of turn it into a little bit of a circus. It is what it is. We covered TMZ. They doubled down on it. They said, listen, we're going 100% with our source. This is what we have heard. We trust our source, is what we believe. Well, we've gotten a different source from the ME, allegedly from a monster channel by the name of Sloan. Now, I've never heard of Sloan, but this is a huge channel. So monstrous channels, well over 1 million people on this guy Sloan. And he's saying that he has a totally different source in the ME's office that's telling him pretty much the diametrically opposite view of things compared to what TMZ has said. So I decided, you know what? We're going to react to this. We're going to talk about Courtney Clenny today, but I'm going to push that show for tomorrow. So make sure you join us. Make sure that all your notifications are set to all so that you get notified when we go live on these important topics for this show. So tomorrow morning around 11 a.m. Eastern time, the usual time we kind of go live when we do our morning lives, we're going to talk about Courtney Clenny. It's good that we push that back anyway because there's a lot of information with Courtney Clenny. A lot of interrogation information, videos of the abuse, all that stuff that we're definitely going to cover tomorrow. So we need a little bit more time to kind of organize all that information, get it together so we can get you guys a nice, clear, and concise show on that. So we're going to react to Sloan today. This is my first time watching his show. I saw the first 3 minutes and I said, whoa, we got to go live on this one and do a reaction to it. So guys, please hit that like button, support the channel. Make sure that you are helping us get into that algorithm so we can be viewed by a wider audience. Let's jump into this. Sloan says his source in the ME's office does not agree with anything that TMZ has said.
Oh my God!
Nothing. Zip, zero, zilch. They don't agree with anything that TMZ claims they've gotten from their source. Make sure you hit that like button, people. We got 130 people watching so far. The number's only going to go up, God willing, because you guys love me and I love you. And we only got 44 likes. That's crazy. So if you are watching this show right now, you are watching me. I'm personally asking you, please help me out. Help this small channel out so one day we could be big like Sloan. Hit that like button. Let's go. Someone close to David's camp. Hold on. In fact, I'm going to bring it back from the beginning because I think this subtitles that Sloan has put in is important. So someone close to David investigation has reached out to me. They have seen Celeste remains. Allegedly, Sloan. Please say allegedly. I want to protect you, Sloan. Allegedly. Here we go. And they want you to know the truth. Oh my God. So they look.
Oh my God.
So they heard that TMZ report and they're like, no. We're not gonna do that to Celeste. We're not doing that to Celeste, okay? They want you to know the truth. Let's keep going.
So there's a lot of tension behind the scenes within the David investigation between the LAPD, the medical examiner's office, and the media. There's been a lot of misinformation out there, and I've been trying my best to keep you guys up to date on this investigation. And it seems like my video has reached some people who are working behind the scenes. And in particular, there's an anonymous source who has seen Celeste's remains, who's come to me and wanted to clear the air on some of the information floating around. Now, I want to
Hold on here. Real quick, though. I know this is serious, but guys, somebody need to reach out to Sloan because he's not going to listen to me. I only got 100,000 subscribers. He got a million and change. Somebody reach out to Sloan. Let him know if you're going to talk about David, Sloan. If you're going to get online and talk about David, you need to get yourself a bonnet. All right, I'm sorry. Let's get back to work. I'm sorry.
This source anonymous because I feel honored that they did come to me and I want to respect this. And after doing some vetting, I do believe that this person has been around Celeste's remains and does have some of the details that we're missing. Remember, TMZ claims they have their own source within the medical examiner's office, and I do not believe that we're speaking to the same person because they have information that contradicts what TMZ is saying.
A very well-connected source connected to the medical examiner, the LA County medical examiner.
And I still think this is a big mistake on Harvey's part. I think it's a big mistake for Harvey to put so much faith into this one source. You got 2 or 3 sources, okay, we rocking out 2 or 3 different sources, but you putting a lot of faith in one source and it's destroying your reputation, at least to us. Maybe he doesn't care because he's got a huge platform. You know, they're syndicated. They're on TV. Maybe he doesn't give a damn what us internet people think. But a lot of us think he's losing credibility because we just don't believe what he's saying. And there's no evidence to back it up. And a police agency is saying you're wrong. So we have to deal with a source we know, which is the Los Angeles Police Department chief of the robbery homicide squad. We know who he is. He's making the rounds on media. He's showing his face. He's putting his audio out there. And he's saying this is not true. But you want us to believe your anonymous source over the chief of the robbery homicide unit. I don't know. You got to make it make sense.
And they doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and sextupled down that the body was found in a partially frozen state.
This is graphic because we've got some of those disturbing details to go through. So let's talk about it. So Celeste's remains arrived at the medical examiner's office in 3 garbage bags. 1 bag had her legs, 1 bag had her torso, cut above mid-thigh.
So now we getting another source saying that Celeste was dismembered. It's going to get crazy. I only watched like the first 3-4 minutes of this, but it's going to get crazy, the detail that this source, and I don't know if this source is true or not. I'm not here telling you guys this is breaking news. I didn't put breaking news in my title. I said new source. So you guys weigh it how you want to weigh it. You let me know, or rather you let yourself know whether you believe this or not, okay? But it gets into grave detail how this body was dismembered. Let's keep going.
Another bag had her head and her arms. This already contradicts what some of the reporting says, that Celeste was not decapitated. My source is saying 3 bags. We've got the legs in one, torso, and the head and arms in another, which would mean that she was decapitated. But there is an LAPD captain who was quoted saying that her body was partially dismembered, but not decapitated. So again, something
he did say that initially, but then they changed their story, says she was not dismembered. I don't know what to believe because the initial reporting, and this is before your PR people really get to dig their heels and settle in and say, well, this is what we want the narrative to be. We got to change the narrative. Usually the first reporting is either the most wildly inaccurate reporting or the most accurate reporting. I kind of believe that Celeste was dismembered. It just makes sense, guys. It makes sense. Her being in that frunk. It's like they wanted to figure out what they wanted to do with the remains. The best way to discard of a body is by dismembering. Yes, it's the most gruesome, but it's the most practical if that's what you want to do. Guys, please hit that like button. We have almost 250 people watching and only 98 likes. What have I done to you guys? It's the holiday season. I've been nice to everybody. Come on, let's keep going.
That's being misreported that my source wanted the world to know. My source wanted to focus on the cuts in particular. I mean, we know that Celeste was dismembered, decapitated, cut down at the neck and to the mid-thigh. Multiple different cut marks were visible on the bones. Some looked like they may have come from a hand saw that was not very effective. Other markings looked like an electric tool. Our source claims that they saw evidence of at least 3 different tools being used. It kind of goes along with what Steve said at one point, that there were farm tools. Investigator Steve.
All right, real quick, I just got to address this because it's important. Soft TMI must have got a gift membership or something like that because they're a member and they're asking, am I a real detective? Well, congratulations on your gift membership. And the answer is yes, I am an active duty detective who actively carries a caseload and works in a squad. I do this in my free time. So it's a good question. I'm not trying to be facetious or anything like that. It's a very good question. You may have gotten a gift membership and you don't know who you are watching. Yes, I am a detective. But I'm not involved in this case, and I do not work for the LAPD. But on my free time, I come on YouTube and I try and give you guys true crime perspective from an active duty detective with 19 years of law enforcement experience and 15 years as an investigator. And I've worked for multiple agencies before settling in my most recent police department. All right, let's keep going.
Sorry, I feel like we're so used to talking about him, but he's been on this case and he says that there were farm tools discovered at the home that was in Los Angeles. So maybe those are the same tools that our EM saw that were used on this body.
Searched the home and that he found, and look, does this mean anything? Does it not? That's the question. But he claims, basically heavy machinery and farm equipment, equipment that you could use to potentially get rid of a body. So he says these things were found.
This is a portion of my...
Wow, this is deep because this source that Sloan is reporting about, and, this is what Sloan is being told. They're basically going into detail as to the level of pressure that was used, where they're surmising, because it's all a theory. You can't prove that there were multiple people, but their working theory is that multiple people took part in the dismemberment because they could see a difference in the amount of pressure used by the tools, whatever tools that may be, because I don't think they have the tools. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know, to dismember the body. That's deep. That's serious there. I don't know if this is true, but this is the kind of stuff that you usually hear MEs talking about. This level of detail, these type of working theories as to if there was more than one person based off of the amount of pressure and the type of tooling that's found on the bones, etc. This is typical ME talk. Like when I'm hearing Harvey from TMZ talking about his theories, it doesn't sound like ME talk. I'm not saying that he does not have a source within the ME. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that because I don't know. I don't know. But the type of description that Sloan is giving is the type of description that I've heard MEs talk about in my career so far. It's the type of conversation I would have with an ME and the type of way that they would answer me when we're talking about a case. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to believe. This is all theories. Nobody has the answers till we see some documentation. Let's keep going.
Conversation with our source. I will redact it in portions throughout the video to protect their identity, but I wanted to go through the cutting aspect. They're saying that the fact that there were multiple tools used is a reason why David is not maybe the sole suspect. It seems like other people had their turn, helping out with him. I don't know. It's so disturbing. They write that...
Yeah, but just want to make sure you guys know that there's no way that this ME would know that to be definitive. That's just a theory. There's no way that you could say definitely multiple people helped just basically off of the level of pressure on the tooling on the bones and stuff like that from, whatever device saw, whatever was used to dismember the body. There's no way that they could say definitively. They need more evidence to back that up, like maybe a witness saying, yes, multiple people took part in this dismemberment. And then you could add that the ME makes this has their own theory and it kind of ties in because you have a person who's an eyewitness verifying it. You just can't go arrest people off of what this ME is saying allegedly may have happened. Let's keep going.
The amount of force it takes to cut a body in the way that you can determine the force by the teeth marks from, let's say, a saw. If I tried cutting her and it took 20 times to get her leg off, it may not take you, another person, times to do the same because you may be stronger than this person is. So there's inconsistent cut marks from more than one tool, which makes it possible to have more than one suspect. They also say it looks like whoever was supposed to finish the job never did and left her the way she was found rather than actually disposing of her body. Forensic technology uses teeth marks from something like a saw to estimate the force that was used, which I guess the way that her body was chopped shows that there was different levels of force being used. Because of the cut patterns and the force appearing inconsistent, they think that there's more than one person involved. Now let's talk about the frozen aspect. So our source claims that the only time Celeste was ever frozen was when she was being placed in the crypt. The crypt is at the medical examiner's office. It's where they put the body.
So here we go. See, because it sounds to me like TMZ's source is like a guy that works in Emmy. Could be a janitor, could be a receptionist, could be another doctor, another pathologist, whatever. And that they're not assigned to the case. And maybe they saw things in passing, right? Maybe they saw things in passing. So I'm not like it, because this source is saying, yeah, she was frozen, but she was frozen like every other body was frozen when they come to the Emmy's office, so that we don't have the body literally decaying on the table as we're waiting to do our autopsy because the body's maybe in a queue. That never happens. If you bring a body in, the body, it doesn't stay the way it is. They put it in freezers because there's a queue. There are multiple bodies who are dying every single day, especially in a place like Los Angeles, New York, Miami. These are large cities. You just don't get the body and now the autopsy is done immediately. Doesn't work that way. There's a queue. There are other families that are just as interested in how their loved one has passed away, whether it's via foul play or just suspicion, that you have to work through those first. So it makes sense that her body was frozen at some point in the ME's office, awaiting its turn to be worked on by the professional, by the ME, rather than the way TMZ was reporting it, that David or somebody else, allegedly, whoever had a hand in taking her life, like they froze her, which then had people chasing rabbit holes and looking at refrigerators in the back of people's videos and all that. And we all hear like, oh, could that be the fridge that she was put in? Like, nah, man. Nah, she was frozen in the ME's office. That makes sense to me. Let's keep going.
As they're going through, like, testing it and reviewing it so it stays as fresh as possible. According to our source, they don't believe Celeste was frozen or ever frozen. They also described Celeste's remains as soupy or water.
Boom. I'm going to come back. Listen.
Waterlogged, which were frozen. They also described Celeste's remains as soupy or waterlogged, which to our source, they...
Didn't we talk about that? Didn't I explain that to you guys? That's why you guys are here. You want to hear it from a professional. I told you guys that being inside of that Tesla for so long, because I don't believe, based off of the information that was reported by the LAPD saying that she was probably killed in the spring of 2024 well, I'm not the spring of 24, but the spring of 2025, to the information that was also supplied by SF Investigates, where he said that he reviewed the video and it does not appear to him that that car moved after July 29th. Based off of those two statements, one from the LAPD, one from the private investigator that was hired by the landlord of the mansion, I said, when you're inside of that trunk that long in a controlled environment, how is it controlled? It's sealed. Heat is not going to readily escape. And you're in plastic bags. Your body is going to turn into soup. That's what I said. And I said it's probably why her fingers were waterlogged, because all of her fluids were inside of a controlled environment. What does that mean? The bodily fluids can't evaporate. They do evaporate when the heat goes up, but then they condense right back where they started because it's covered by plastic. Put anything in plastic, you change the temperature, it's going to be like the greenhouse effect. The water's going to evaporate, then the water's going to condense again. When you just have that happening inside of those plastic bags because she's in that California heat, and it may be 80 or 90 degrees outside, but it's going to be 120 degrees inside of that trunk. Why? Because the heat can't readily escape as quickly as it could outside. you're going to get a soupy condition that's going to cause all types of things like waterloggedness in the tissue. The tissue that has not totally melted away is going to be waterlogged. Why? Why? Because there's nowhere for that moisture to escape. We spoke about this already. Now his source is telling him that. Let's keep going. It's not about being a psychic. It's about science. That's all it is, just science.
Don't believe Celeste was frozen or ever frozen. They also described Celeste's remains as soupy or waterlogged, which shows extreme decomposition. Remember, TMZ has been adamant that their source within this investigation believes that she was frozen. TMZ reported that we're told the body parts were partially frozen and had been thawing out sitting in David's trunk. In another report, they write that it appeared the body had been frozen somewhere and was thawing out. But the LAPD captain who's running this said on the LAPD side that the body was never frozen. TMZ has doubled down, saying they have a very connected source within the medical examiner's office that does say that she was frozen. Here is the LAPD statement. They released this on November 21st, where they stated the body was, again, not frozen. So there's this back and...
All right, guys, I got to stop this real quick. We'll go back just a couple of seconds so we can get context, but I have to ask. YouTube tells me as a content creator, I have to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't receive. We have 415 people watching us in this live stream right now. That's a lot of people. Yet we only have 185 likes. I'm asking you, please. It's the only way that my show is going to grow. I love this show. I put my heart, my body, and my soul into this show. Every waking minute that I'm free, if I'm not with my family, I do this show. That's a lot to ask from a 41-year-old professional detective, because I really believe in the mission of this show. We cannot grow unless you support us. The only way that we ask you to support us is just hitting the like button. We're not asking you for money. We're not asking you to volunteer your time. We're not asking you to send me. We're not begging you for anything. We're just asking you to do what's right, which is hit the like button if you're going to sit here and watch the show. You don't like the show, then leave. It's okay. But if you're going to sit here, please hit the like button. And if you're watching on the TV and you don't know how to hit the like, it's okay. I excuse you. This is for the people who are holding this show in their hands right now on their tablets and on their phones, when all they have to do is hit one button and then we could get where we need to go. We appreciate you. Let's keep going. Bring it back a little bit.
That does say that she was frozen. Here is the LAPD statement. They released this on November 21st, where they stated the body was, again, not frozen. So there's this back and forth. And I don't know what's going on here. Harvey suspects that maybe his source at the medical examiner's office is right, and there's some issues within the LAPD and the ME's office, and they can't decide what the facts are. But either way, our source claims that their team, the people there, do not believe the body was ever frozen, which does lead you to question, where was her body? Because they do believe that she was dead for months and months. So where did they store her? They said the decomposition was so advanced they could not visually tell if she had been strangled or otherwise assaulted. They claimed the smell was overwhelming, much stronger than the usual case, which lines up with how the Tesla was discovered because of that odor. Another interesting piece of information we learned was that Celeste's body reportedly could not be identified through fingerprints, which makes sense. She was waterlogged. They normally might use something like a toenail for DNA, but in this case, they had to use dental records. Again,
right. So Obsidian, my moderator, makes a really good point. She says that for all we know, she could have been alive since January. She didn't have to have perished during the spring. That is just what they believe, the LAPD, because maybe I don't know, maybe they have evidence we don't have. Obsidian could be wrong, because maybe they have evidence that she was gone before then. But with the information we have now, nobody really knows when she died except for September 8th, which is when they found her and they opened up the trunk. And we could surmise, based off of what we've been told from SF Investigates, that the car did not move since July 29th, which means that it had to have happened before July 29th. But it could have been a week before July 29th. Could have been a day before July 29th. Could have been an hour before. It could be the day of July 29th when they parked the car, and it could have happened an hour before that, or a few minutes before that. We don't know. We have no idea. You know, I think we could just definitively say from July 29th and forward is when we could definitively say that she's no longer with us. But she could have, and it doesn't even have to be that she was alive and kicking and just chilling. You know, maybe David went full AKA a Tommy, And, you know, he's now like in his psycho mode and he's torturing her in a basement for all we know for all that time. We don't know. We don't know. And the things that I've seen on the internet out of the D4VD, what they call again, his Discord, and things that have been deleted on Twitch that are now like some people maybe screen recorded it and now coming back out. This guy was deeply disturbed, dude. Deeply disturbed. I got a video where he's saying I'm a grouper or something like that. And I look up what a grouper is and you look it up. It's kind of weird. It's weird. And it came out of his mouth and he's saying it on Twitch, you know? Now I don't have the full context of it. It's just a small snippet, but just to say that period is kind of weird. But anyway, let's gooner, not grouper, gooner. I'm sorry. These are terms that I'm not familiar with because I'm not a part of that world. Like they got this whole subculture that's like growing around me. And I don't know, like I guess I'm that old guy. I used to be that young guy. There was a time I was the youngest guy in the room. Now I'm the oldest guy in the room. Once you turn 40, you the old guy now. I don't even know what a gooner is. I had to go and ask Gemini, Google AI. I had to ask Gemini to figure it out, man. It's crazy. This guy was into some weird stuff. You hear him talk about Tommy and his alter ego and all that stuff. He was into weird stuff. We covered it, how he said that he's more into snuff than he is into peen. I shouldn't say peen. Peen means something else, but PORN. But he said gore, but I'm saying snuff. But his quote is, I'm more into gore than I'm into PORN. That's David. That's the guy who's making music for our children. His girlfriend is my daughter's age, my middle daughter's age. So that's why it's kind of personal for us older folks. Now that we know who he is and we're covering this, it's like, wow, we had a predator right underneath our nose. Actually, I posted on my Patreon a really good video that explains to you how these predators maneuver under the radar. And I tell a story about when I was a young kid in an organization, there was a predator in there and how he maneuvered with one of the young boys there right underneath all of our noses. It's real deep and it's a real good story. Go check it out. Be a part of the Patreon. We do some serious ish over there. I'm not just trying to sell you something. I'm trying to make you be a part of something. Join that Patreon, join that membership as well. But we talk about that on the Patreon. It's crazy. This guy was, in my opinion, just my opinion means absolutely nothing. This guy was a pedophile, man. And it's not just me. It's his own people in his Discord was calling him that. His own juvenile fans were saying, yo, bro, what's up with you, man? You like little girls. You Epstein, man. You on Epstein's list, kid. What's wrong with you? His own people. Let's keep going.
I don't think that's been released that they used dental records to identify her. There were reports that said that Celeste had a yellow metal chain bracelet on. This is also something I can confirm that my source said, yes, in fact, in the bag where her head and her arms were, there was the bracelet. Right now, within the office, it seems like the rumors. Now, this is what they're saying. So imagine a workplace and everyone's talking about the case. This is kind of what's going around right now. They believe that this was possibly an overdose. They don't see any gunshot wounds. They can't tell if she was strangled. Toxicology is still going through it. I mean, my source said that they're still working on reports. There will be reports at some point. They don't know what it will reveal, but they kind of feel like the working speculation right now is an overdose, and that's how she would have died. My conversation.
See, this is my thing. My issue with this statement here is unless you have evidence that she OD'd, you're telling us, and this is not Sloan here. Sloan is just reporting what he got from his source. So I'm not talking about Sloan. I'm talking about the source. You're telling Sloan, intern, all of us, that she was so badly decomposed, they can't really tell if she was strangled or something like that. They could probably tell if she was shot or stabbed because obviously you probably see those type of markings on the body. But they can't tell if her ending was due to some type of physical trauma, like asphyxiation. But then we think that she may have OD'd. Well, I gotta do a sound effect.
Oh my God!
Does that make sense?
Well, for these type of personal crimes like this, it's usually due to strangulation or stabbing. Personal crimes don't usually end with gunshot wounds. Personal crimes usually end like this. If you were telling me you can't determine if this was the cause, how do you just run to overdose? How we just run to overdose? Unless, of course, there's some other things that the LAPD told them, like, listen, we examined the phones and we see that they were doing some heavy drugs and stuff like that. You know, this might be a possibility. All right, so if you have some type of evidence other than the body that tells you they may have engaged in certain types of activities that could have been a cause of her unaliving, okay, I get that. But if you're telling me you can't determine if it was asphyxiation, how do you then run to drugs without any other evidence to back that up? It looks like you're already writing off that something could have possibly happened. Listen, they'll find out either way because the toxicology is going to say if she had any drugs in her system. Designer drugs made, like date rape drugs, those drugs made to go out your system relatively quickly. The drugs that are made that for you to get high with, those drugs linger in your system. If all she was doing was getting high, we're going to find that inside of her toxicology. We're going to find out meth, heroin, whatever it may be, we're going to find it out. But if it's negative for the toxicology and all she had was marijuana because all these kids are smoking that stuff these days, then it's just going to be that it's undetermined. But that doesn't mean that somebody did not take her life with their bare hands. They just can't determine it. But I just don't like the way that the rumor in the ME's office is like, yeah, we're just going to discount something we can't disprove. Well, how is that possible? Why would you discount something you can't disprove?
With the source, it's kind of speculated she OD'd due to no obvious signs of injury, like a gunshot wound. Her body was so bad, you can't even tell she was strangled because her tissues were so thin and sludge. Poor girl, it was awful. Just the smell from her decaying was sad. That is all the information that I've learned from my source. And to give you guys a little bit of insight, I've had several sources within this investigation, people we've spoken about, that I've spoken to. I respect people's anonymity. I do not want to be, I don't want to do anything wrong here. I'm trying my best to verify and to vet everything that I am hearing from people, but there are people who are talking. And if you are out there and you want your information out there, just come to me. Now, of course, we've got a vetting process, so you have to be willing to talk to me, but I do want to talk about the grand jury information. So there's been this secret.
All right, so I like the fact that he said we have a vetting process. That makes me feel, that makes me feel good. That what Sloan is basically saying is, listen, you could come to me, but you're not going to be anonymous to me. You have to prove to me that you are actually a part of this, whatever organization you want to give information from. And I respect that. That's cool. I don't know. Did TMZ do this? Like I'm curious. Did TMZ do what Sloan says that he does, which is basically fact check your sources? Like, okay, you say that you have this information. What do you do? Because I know, like TMZ has a reputation. This may not be true, and I'm sorry if I'm shading them just a little bit, but it seems like TMZ, based off their reputation, basically being a celebrity gossip website / channel / show. It seems like the janitor is enough for them. And listen, no shade on the janitor. The janitor is an important job, but the janitor could maybe tell you what he sees, tell you what he overhears, but he's not going to have the full story. And he may see something and interpret it wrong because he's not an ME professional. Just like you take me as a detective, if you open up a body, I don't know what I'm looking at. You have to walk me through it and say, well, strategic, this is what it is that you should be looking at. All I see is blood and guts if you open up a body in front of me. TMZ seems like they got the janitor that said her like frozen, and he's like, oh, she was frozen, but they was talking about Thanksgiving turkey. The doctors was in there working like, yeah, man, I got my frozen turkey ready to defrost and all that good stuff. The janitor's like air hustling like with the broom like, huh? Frozen? Thawing? Oh, God. Harvey. Oh, hell no. Harvey, I heard that she was frozen and she was thawing out, and they was talking about Thanksgiving dinner. So I don't know. I appreciate Sloan is actually doing his best to make sure he vets his sources. Let's keep going.
Grand jury meeting where these people are meeting to hear evidence, to hear from witnesses testifying, and to build this case behind the scene that David is the one who did this. Let's talk about what a grand jury means in this case, because they don't immediately hand down a verdict. It's called an investigative grand jury. They hear evidence, subpoena witnesses, and other evidence like videos, records, to help prosecutors decide whether there's enough to charge someone. So it's kind of like a mock jury. Would you guys think this guy's guilty? And that's what they're doing. It looks like the grand jury has been hearing evidence for several days in mid-November. If the grand jury do recommend some charges, it doesn't mean the prosecutors will take what they have to say, but at least they'll feel more confident in pursuing with what evidence they have. Because
all right, so check this out. With these investigative, because people kind of once they hear grand jury, they're saying, oh my God, people have said, oh, they got to investigate grand jury, but they can't indict him. That's a big deal. It's not a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, guys, please hit that like button, support the channel. Investigative grand juries are called all the time. And you don't call them when you have the goods. You go before a regular grand jury when you have the goods. When you want an indictment, a true bill, so you can move forward and charge the guy in criminal court on felony charges. Investigative grand juries are so you can get those facts. Investigative grand juries are so you can compel people to testify, to get their testimony, to find out what information they have under oath. That is the point of the investigative grand jury. Nobody cares about what charges they want to recommend or not. It doesn't matter. You're using that investigative grand jury so you could lock people into their statements. You could find out what information they have or don't have. You could subpoena things. You could send out search warrants more easily. It's very quickly. Everything is super fast, super more efficient with investigative grand jury. But most importantly, you could compel people who are powerful, who have lawyers, who have lawyered up with their attorneys. Even though they've done nothing wrong, they still got lawyers. And when those detectives called them hey, I'd like to talk to you, oh, don't talk to me, talk to my attorney. So you got those roadblocks that's stymieing those detectives. Well, that investigative grand jury can shove those lawyers aside and say, yeah, you got an attorney, but we don't care because you're not the suspect. You are being subpoenaed to appear in that LA grand jury and answer those questions. That's what the investigative grand jury does for you. And also, it doesn't override NDAs, as A Obsidian says. As I told her in the background in our private chat, NDAs don't exist when it comes to criminal court. An NDA has no legal standing, no binding effect when it comes to a crime. An NDA is, you can't talk to the media. You can't tell your friends about whatever is happening in your company or in this celebrity relationship because they use them in companies to protect IP, intellectual property, right? They don't want you going and selling the new NVIDIA GPU to AMD. So you have to sign an NDA when you work in a position that gives you access to trade secrets, right? But celebrities also use them for the people that they're bonking, so that you don't go on Strategic Eyes show and say that they got a little wiener. You wouldn't say that on my show because I don't care. I'm not a celebrity gossip show. But you know what I'm saying? So that's what NDAs are for when it comes to these celebrities and them having their friends and family signing those NDAs. When it comes to a criminal case, those things don't even exist. An NDA does not protect you from somebody doing a criminal investigation and asking that person questions about possible crimes. So you wouldn't, investigative grand jury doesn't even override an NDA because the NDA does not exist. The moment the LAPD is asking somebody a question about a criminal case, that NDA has no legal effect and no binding. Let's keep going, guys.
If this jury convicted him, then the next probably would too. The fact that they called this grand jury means that authorities have evidence, and I'm hopefully feeling confident that David will be.
So somebody else said that, Matt Thibodeau said that, and once again, I'm going to just do that small little correction. It does not necessarily mean that they have the goods. It's this is an extra step that they want to get those statements. So just think about investigative grand jury, witness testimony. Those go synonymous. It's not like, oh my God, what people are misconstruing is if you take your case to a regular grand jury, that means you have the evidence, because you need to have evidence to convince that grand jury to come back with a true bill and indict the person on the charges you want. When you go before an investigative grand jury, you don't need no evidence. You just need probable cause to believe that a crime may have been committed, or reasonable suspicion rather, that the crime may be committed, and you want to use this grand jury to develop that hardcore evidence. All right. Investigative grand juries are like baby detectives. That's all they are. They are detectives. They're using their authority to get more evidence and to lock people into statements. All right. Let's keep going. Let me stop beating that dead horse. I think you guys get it at this point.
In prison, like by the time Christmas rolls around, because if they're presenting this evidence now, it means that they want to hear out the grand jury, hear what they have to say. And if they say, you know, lock him up, then the police will be right up on him. But at the same time, I don't know if they have enough to go and convict him. So I am thankful to everyone who's trying to get all of the information out and trying to keep it straight. I'm really trying to put out what is real, what I can come across. And this case is something I'm heavily invested in. And I know you guys are too. So thank you for being here with
Yeah, we are. We really appreciate you, Sloan. Thank you for, you know, bringing this forward and all that good stuff.
me, and I'll see you in a new video soon.
All right. You know, I've never heard of Sloan before. He's a huge channel, but it never came across my algorithm. He's got perfect eyebrows.
Oh my God!
We appreciate him. That was a really good video. I love his presentation. And definitely, this contradicts what TMZ said. And listen, I kind of am a little biased because I don't believe that TMZ's information is accurate, but we really don't know if this information is accurate either. Neither does Sloan, all right? Because he's just getting information from his source. So I just want to make sure that we preface this. This is all alleged, ladies and gentlemen. This is all alleged, all right? Nobody has the goods. Nobody has the facts. But the soul of Celeste, that's with our Heavenly Father right now. Amen. For all you people who believe, can I get an amen? Amen. The person who may have done this to her, that allegedly it may be David, maybe not. We don't know. He's innocent till proven guilty and has not been charged. And the LAPD and the ME's office who are working their investigations. These are the people who either know what happened or have an idea of what happened. So just understand that all of this is alleged. We take it with a grain of salt. We're just covering it because we all want to know what happened to Celeste, but it is what it is. So guys, you guys are amazing. I got to get out of here. I want to go check out The Running Man with my daughter. I keep saying my daughter because the oldest one is almost turning 18. She got work. She's doing her own thing, so she doesn't have time to hang out with me as much. I'm trying to kind of force it a little bit because she's about to go to college come next year. And, you know, once they go off to college, they just become their own people, man. It's hard to get them back in. So I want to enjoy my oldest before she moves on to becoming a true woman and start building her life. But I still got the 13-year-old who's turning 14 in a month. So she likes hanging out with me still. So we go and we do things. We're going to go check out The Running Man, have a good time. Yeah, man, I always appreciate the time that we spend together, people. So thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you for seeing this channel grow. Remember, our success is tied to you. I could come on here. I've been talking like this for years. For years, I've been talking like this, but nobody was watching. And it just proves to me one thing. You're nothing without your audience, because I could keep talking like this, but if you guys don't want to watch, then guess what? I'm just talking to myself like I was before. So I'm always humbled, and I always appreciate you guys for your support and for your continued love of my mission to give a voice to the voiceless. Before we go, I just want to let you guys know we have some new designs on our store. Really awesome designs that we just put up there. We have some roses, kind of like D4VD inspired. It's not his work, but it's inspired by him and his treachery, allegedly. So you might want to go check that out. We also have a membership, which many of you are a part of, and I hope that you get value out of your membership. I hope you guys like it, and we keep posting stuff up there. So hopefully you guys will continue to enjoy it and keep your memberships going. And also we have a Patreon where we post things that we can't put on YouTube. And so guys, please consider becoming a part of our membership and our Patreon. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out the door. We have 444 people watching right now. We have 378 likes. I'd like to see it go to 400 likes before the end of the live. And guess what? Like all good things, I got to bid you adieu. I see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. We're going to go with the retro outro. Peace.